Ladies and gentlemen, there is a force in this world more powerful than hatred, stronger than revenge, and deeper than human pride. It is the power of forgiveness. We live in a world where hurt is inevitable. People betray us, words wound us, and actions leave scars that seem impossible to erase. But forgiveness is the key that unlocks the chains of bitterness and sets the prisoner free. And often that prisoner is ourselves. Forgiveness is not weakness. It does not mean excusing wrongdoing or pretending that pain does not exist. No, forgiveness is an act of courage. It is a decision to release resentment, to let go of the heavy burden that weighs down the soul. Some may ask, why should I forgive? They don't deserve it. But my friends, neither did we, yet we have been shown grace beyond measure. If we have received mercy, how can we withhold it from others? Unforgiveness is like a closed door. It keeps the pain locked inside, and it keeps the peace of God locked out. It hinders our prayers, it steals our joy, and it robs us of true freedom. But when we choose to forgive, the weight lifts, the heart softens. Forgiveness is not a feeling, it is a choice. And it is not a one-time event, it is a daily surrender. The more we forgive, the more we reflect the love that has been shown to us. So I ask you today, is there someone you need to forgive? Is there a name that comes to your mind, a wound that still stings? The power of forgiveness is waiting to set you free. Will you take that step today? Thank you, and may peace fill your hearts. Forgiveness is not just a noble idea or a suggestion for those who feel ready. No, it is a command. It is not based on how we feel in the moment, nor is it dependent on whether the person who hurt us deserves it. It is an act of obedience, a response to a higher calling. Too often we hold on to unforgiveness as if it is our right, thinking that withholding mercy punishes the other person. But the truth is, refusing to forgive does not harm them nearly as much as it harms us. It poisons our hearts, darkens our thoughts, and distances us from the peace we so desperately seek. We have been commanded to forgive because we too have been forgiven. None of us are without fault. We have all fallen short, and yet we have been shown grace beyond what we deserve. If we expect to receive mercy, how can we refuse to extend it to others? Forgiveness is not about ignoring the wrong that was done. It is about releasing the burden of judgment and leaving it in the hands of the one who is just. It is about choosing to obey, even when it is difficult, because we trust that obedience brings freedom. There will never be a perfect time or perfect feeling that makes forgiveness easy. It is a decision we must make in faith. It is not optional, for the condition of our hearts depends on it. And when we surrender to this command, we find that the weight we thought we were carrying for others was actually holding us back. Forgiveness is the key that sets us free. Many people hesitate to forgive because they believe the person who wronged them does not deserve it. They hold on to bitterness as if it gives them power, as if refusing to forgive keeps the other person bound in guilt. But the truth is, unforgiveness does not trap the offender, it traps the one who refuses to let go. The chains of resentment do not bind the person who hurt you, they bind you. When we refuse to forgive, we carry the weight of anger, bitterness, and pain. It seeps into our thoughts, our emotions, and even our relationships. We relive the hurt over and over, allowing the past to dictate our present. But forgiveness is the key that unlocks those chains. It is not about saying that what happened was right. It is about refusing to let it control us any longer. Forgiveness is an act of freedom. It lifts the burden from our hearts and allows us to move forward with peace. The moment we release the bitterness we have held on to, we realize that we were the ones being held captive all along. The other person may never apologize. They may never acknowledge the pain they caused. But forgiveness is not about them. It is about us. It is about refusing to let someone else's actions dictate our joy, our peace, and our future. Some wounds are deep. Some betrayals cut to the core. But when we forgive, we are not saying that what happened was okay. We are saying that it no longer has power over us. Forgiveness does not erase the past, but it breaks the hold the past has on us. It allows us to walk in freedom, unburdened by resentment, and filled with a peace that can only come when we let go. If we ever struggle to understand the true meaning of forgiveness, we need only look to the greatest example of all, God's forgiveness toward us. Time and time again we have fallen short. We have turned away, chosen our own path, and made mistakes that we could never erase on our own. Yet despite our failures, God has never withheld His mercy. He offers forgiveness freely, not because we deserve it, but because of His boundless love. This forgiveness is not based on how good we are or how hard we try to make up for our wrongs. It is a gift given without condition to those who will receive it. It wipes away our past, no matter how broken it may be, and replaces it with grace. If God, in His perfect holiness, can forgive us for all we have done, how can we refuse to extend that same grace to others? The problem is that human nature resists forgiveness. We want justice. We want to make people pay for the pain they have caused. But the reality is none of us could ever pay the debt we owe, and yet we have been forgiven completely, undeservedly, and unconditionally. When we understand the depth of God's mercy toward us, it changes how we see those who have wronged us. Forgiveness does not mean ignoring sin, nor does it mean pretending that hurtful actions have no consequences. But it does mean surrendering our right to revenge and placing justice in the hands of the one who judges rightly. God's forgiveness is the ultimate example, and when we choose to follow it, we reflect His love in a world desperate for grace. Broken relationships are one of the deepest sources of pain in life, whether it is a friendship shattered by betrayal, a marriage strained by hurtful words, or a family divided by misunderstandings. The wounds caused by broken trust can feel impossible to mend. Yet there is one force that has the power to restore what has been lost: true, heartfelt forgiveness. Forgiveness is the bridge that allows healing to take place. It does not mean forgetting what happened or pretending that the hurt was never real. It means choosing to let go of resentment, to release the need for revenge, and to open the door for restoration. Without forgiveness, bitterness takes root, and relationships that were once filled with love and trust become consumed by anger and distance. But when forgiveness enters the picture, even the deepest wounds can begin to heal. There's no relationship that is immune to conflict. We are human, and we will fail one another, We will say things we regret, make choices that hurt those we love, and at times allow pride to keep us from making things right. But forgiveness humbles us. It reminds us that just as we need grace from others, we must also be willing to give it. It softens hardened hearts, brings down walls of pride, and allows love to take the place of anger. Reconciliation is not always immediate, and sometimes it is not even possible. But forgiveness is the first step toward peace, whether that means rebuilding the relationship or simply finding closure in our own hearts. When we choose forgiveness, we give relationships a chance to heal. We create space for love to grow again, for trust to be rebuilt, and for wounds to be replaced with understanding. No relationship is beyond repair when forgiveness is at the center. Unforgiveness is one of the greatest obstacles to spiritual growth. It builds a wall between us and the peace we long for, keeping us bound to resentment, anger, and pain. When we hold on to grudges, we are not just holding on to memories of the past, we are allowing bitterness to take root in our hearts. And where bitterness thrives, true spiritual growth is hindered. A heart filled with unforgiveness cannot fully experience the love, joy, and peace that comes from a deep connection with God. It clouds our prayers, burdens our souls, and keeps us from walking in the freedom that has been offered to us. How can we seek grace for ourselves while refusing to extend it to others? How can we expect our hearts to be open to divine wisdom when they are weighed down by resentment? Unforgiveness does not just affect our relationship with others, it directly impacts our relationship with God. It blinds us to His presence, dulls our ability to hear His voice, and keeps us from fully embracing His purpose for our lives. When we hold on to offenses, we are choosing to dwell in the past rather than move forward in faith. But God calls us to let go, to forgive as we have been forgiven, and to trust that He is the ultimate judge of all things. Spiritual growth requires a heart that is open to love, open to peace, and open to the transforming power of grace. But as long as we hold on to unforgiveness, we are closing off a part of ourselves from that transformation. The moment we choose to release the burden of resentment, we make room for healing, for renewed faith, and for a deeper connection with God. Forgiveness is not a single moment in time. It is a continuous choice that we must make every day. Many believe that once they have spoken the words, "I forgive you," the struggle is over and the pain will disappear. But forgiveness is not always immediate, and it is rarely easy. The hurt may resurface, the memories may return, and the temptation to hold on to resentment may creep in again. This is why forgiveness must become a daily commitment rather than a one-time event. Every day we must decide whether we will carry the weight of past offenses or lay them down. Forgiveness does not mean that the pain vanishes instantly, nor does it mean that trust is automatically restored. It means choosing again and again to release the bitterness and refuse to let it take root in our hearts. Some wounds are deep and healing takes time. But each time we choose forgiveness, we weaken the hold that anger and resentment have over us. There will be days when forgiving feels impossible, when the hurt feels too fresh and the emotions too raw. But forgiveness is not about feelings. It is an act of the will. It is deciding that no matter how many times the offense comes to mind, we will surrender it instead of letting it control us. Just as love is a daily choice, so is forgiveness. We do not forgive once and never think of it again. We forgive today, and when the pain returns tomorrow, we forgive again. And the more we do, the more freedom we experience. Over time, the weight becomes lighter, the bitterness fades, and peace takes its place. Forgiveness is not about a moment, it is about a way of living. Ladies and gentlemen, forgiveness is one of the most powerful forces in the world. It has the ability to heal wounds, restore broken relationships, and set hearts free. Yet, for many, it remains one of the hardest things to do. When we are hurt, our natural instinct is to hold on the power of forgiveness so that pain, to seek justice, or even revenge. But forgiveness is not about weakness. It is about strength. It is not about excusing the offense. It is about releasing the weight that burdens our own hearts. Forgiveness is not optional. It is not something we do only when we feel like it. It is a command given to us because we too have been forgiven. None of us are without fault. We have all fallen short, yet grace has been extended to us. How then can we refuse to extend that same grace to others? Forgiveness is not a gift we give because someone else deserves it. It is a gift we give because we have received it ourselves. But let us not be deceived. Unforgiveness does not hurt the person who wronged us nearly as much as it hurts us. Bitterness is a prison of our own making. The more we hold on to resentment, the more we allow it to control our thoughts, our emotions, and even our spiritual lives. But when we choose to forgive, we break those chains. We experience a freedom that no amount of revenge could ever bring. If we ever doubt what true forgiveness looks like, we need only look to the greatest example, God's forgiveness toward us. No matter how many times we have failed, no matter how far we have strayed, His mercy is always greater. He does not hold our past against us, and He calls us to do the same for others. Forgiveness is not about ignoring justice, but about surrendering the right to take it into our own hands. It is about trusting that ultimate justice belongs to the one who sees all. And when we forgive, something incredible happens. Relationships that seemed beyond repair begin to heal. Hearts that were once hardened by anger begin to soften. Love replaces bitterness, and peace takes the place of pain. Some wounds take time to heal. And forgiveness does not mean that trust is instantly restored, but it is the first step, the door through which healing can begin. Yet forgiveness is not something we do just once and forget about. It is a daily choice. When the memories resurface, when the emotions rise up again, we must choose once more to let go. The act of forgiveness may start in a moment, but the journey of forgiveness is lifelong. And the more we practice it, the more we grow in peace, in love, and in faith. So I ask you today, who do you need to forgive? What weight have you been carrying for too long? Perhaps it is someone who hurt you deeply, or perhaps it is yourself. Forgiveness is waiting. Freedom is waiting. Do not let the past hold you captive any longer. Choose forgiveness and walk in the peace that comes with it